So a little while ago, I entered a contest. It was a contest to write a creepy story, and I didn't win the contest, but I think that my story was pretty good, so I want to read it because I don't want it to go to waste. So in this story, the main character is a male, just so you know. So I'm reading from a male's perspective. All right. The title of the story is The Hum, and I'm gonna put on my glasses so I can see. Okay. So here we go. I sat at my work desk, focused on everything but work. My pop rock band called The Sevens had a big show. I would do anything to get over my writer's block. I've been obsessively tapping melodies on my wooden desk, only to discard them for not being good enough. Suddenly, I heard the familiar sound of the only female in the office. Rachel and her clacking heels made her presence known, much to the happiness of all the men in the office. They loved to watch her prance around. I personally had no attraction to her. She was my main competition for any potential promotion, so I was not fond of her. I focused on her footsteps to figure out which direction she was walking, and I prayed she was not coming to annoy me. I realized the clicking and clacking of her shoes made an interesting beat. I began tapping my desk in a rhythmic thump that mirrored her clacks. Then it happened. She began humming as she flowed through the office. Click, clack, hum. The tune was absolutely beautiful. I waited patiently for the perfect opportunity to talk to her. When I heard her walking towards the break room, I knew that was my chance. I went a different route, and we arrived at the break room at the same time. I acted shocked and surprised to see her. Oh, hi, Rachel. What's for lunch? Tuna salad and grapes, she said. I'm on a diet again. You don't need to be on a diet. You're perfect. Speaking of perfect, what was that song you were humming? I hum all the time. I have a natural talent. I make up beautiful melodies. I think that's why my roommate is not renewing my lease. Oh, really? I replied. Bullseye, I thought to myself. She's a perfect target to help me with the next song for my group. It's your lucky day. I have extra space at my place. I'm sure we can figure something out. Rachel paused for a second and said, Let me think about that. I might take you up on that offer. A couple of weeks passed, and Rachel asked if the offer was still available. And I told her yes. I was giddy with excitement. I would have unlimited hums. I waited for her to start humming as she unpacked and performed various tasks around the house. Rachel had been living with me for about 3 days, and on her third night, I awoke to her leaning over me. Her frizzy hair tickled my face as she hummed softly in my ear. I tried to fight her off, but the melody lulled me back to sleep like a baby. The next thing I remember was waking up to the sunlight peeking through my blinds. I hesitantly glanced at the alarm clock, only to realize that I had overslept. I was pissed because Rachel didn't wake me up, and I knew she was kissing up to the boss. Although I started my morning routine in a hurried pace, I was humming a tune. As a matter of fact, it was the perfect cadence for my band. The tune was like my new best friend. It followed me as I got dressed, toasted my bagel, drove to work. I didn't even want to listen to the radio. I just wanted to hum the song. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I snapped my fingers, tapped my steering wheel, and when I arrived to work and was in the elevator, I was tapping my foot. The melody was relentless, and I liked it. Rachel was the first person I saw when I walked into the office, and of course, she was talking to our boss. Oh, there he is, she said as I walked in. Before I could apologize for being late, My boss told me that Rachel had finished my assignment and saved the day. I was too consumed by the beautiful melody in my head to care. I sarcastically thanked Rachel and walked away. As I arrived to my desk, I suddenly remembered that Rachel was in my room last night. Or was she? I was unsure, and I didn't want to confront her, so I reluctantly let it go. When I arrived home, I was anxious to write a song to the melody that had been in my head all day. I pulled out my keyboard, and suddenly silence ensued. My mind was completely blank. I sat there for at least 10 minutes, as if I had never written a song in my entire life. I've been a singer for 20 years, but right now it was as if I had never written anything. I was extremely frustrated. So I decided to grab a bag of chips from the cabinet and relax. But as I walked away, the tune resumed. I hurried back to the keyboard, and it was like a switch was flipped. There was complete silence again. Before I could figure out what to do next, Rachel and her clickety-clacketing shoes arrived to annoy me further. "Hey there," she said in a cheery voice. "I was so happy to help you today at work. You owe me." Without thinking, I blurted out that I had a crazy dream that she was in my room last night. I hoped that she would admit to it or at least deny it. "Oh, really?" she said, and she stared at me blankly. She finally broke her stare with a hair flip and walked into her room. I decided I had enough stress for one day, so I went into the den to watch TV. As soon as I sat down, the tune resumed. It was louder and more intense. I had to hum it just to release the pressure in my head. Almost 3 hours passed before I realized I was still sitting in front of the TV. I decided to go to bed, but not before I locked the door to my room to keep Rachel out. I lay down and hummed myself to sleep. So that's part one. Part two is next.